Hello fragrance family, welcome to Fragrance Therapy. I'm your host Am. Now in my opinion, till this day, the crown jewel of PDM is still Layton. It is one of the most unique, bold, yet mass appealing niche fragrances ever released. Today, we're going to get to the bottom of which is the best clone available in the market. I have 4 highly regarded clones of Layton. I'm going to go from my least recommended to my most recommended. I'm not going to say I'm going to go from the worst to the best because I don't think any of them are actually bad. At the very least, even last place is good. Things that I consider when I'm doing these face-offs, of course, how close it gets, but I also consider the price, the performance, and a big factor for me is how often I end up reaching for it. But before we get into the ranking, let's talk about the OG. This is one of the most celebrated niche fragrances of all time, I think. It's this unique blend of fresh fruitiness and this warm, spicy gourmand finish. It is surprisingly wearable, and it does have this mentholic opening, but it quickly settles into this rich, sweet, woody dry down. It opens with this burst of crisp green apple, mandarin orange, bergamot, and lavender. It's both fruity and aromatic. It's in this opening where you get that mentholic aspect, and at times when you hear mentholic, it's in a negative way. But in here, it just works. It is not overpowering, it feels intentional and well balanced. You also get tons of elegant florals like geranium, violet, and jasmine. In the base is when you get those more heavy gourmand flavors like vanilla, cardamom, but you also get pink pepper, gaiac wood, and patchouli. This thing is full of notes that I absolutely adore, but it's blended in such a unique way. It's like nothing else that's available on the market. When I smell Layton, and it's very distinct, easy to pick up, it projects this aura of like class, confidence, sophistication. It's one of those that is an incredible option that can help you stand out, but at the same time, it's not at all polarizing. Longevity is good, 8.5 hours on skin, forever on clothes, strong projection for the first hour or two. This thing I think is most ideal for like fall and winter and then maybe early spring. Its richness can be a bit cloying and overpowering for the high heat. I think this is like a perfect date night fragrance, evening, like I wouldn't go too dressed up with this one, like semi-formal event. I also think it is perfectly suitable for the office. You just kind of gotta dial back the sprays. In my opinion, this is still a masterpiece even till this day. I do like some other Parfums de Marly fragrances, but there really isn't anything quite like Layton. So what I ended up doing was testing 4 extremely popular clones of Layton. I know there are a few more out there. I think there is a Zemaya one. I've also smelt a Maison Alhambra one in the past. The Maison Alhambra one, I think if my memory serves me correctly, it was decent, but it was nothing actually to write home about. I did actually try to get my hands on the Maison Alhambra one for this video, but it appears that there is not many in production right now because it's sold out everywhere. Anyway, I think the ones that we have are probably easier to find nowadays and probably the ones that you would consider. All these fragrances share that apple, vanilla, cardamom that Layton's known for, but the intensity, the freshness, the fruitiness, and of course the price vary on all of them. Okay, so let's start with what I would say is my least recommended, and that is Armaf's Line Club Rugir. And this is Layton with a twist. What Armaf I think did with this one, they attempted to freshen up the scent profile. The apple comes off a little bit more crisp. The lavender is a bit dosed up and it feels a little bit more aromatic. Still has that mentholic accord, but it's not as strong as the OG. It also comes off a bit more powdery in my opinion. This is also one of the weaker performances on the list. I think I got 6 to maybe 7 hours of longevity with moderate projection. And look, I'm all for twist, but if you're gonna do a twist, go for it, like lean into that twist. I think in this one, they didn't go far enough. This is also, I think, the second most expensive one on the list. I think it comes in around $45. Look, it's not bad. Armaf has released a bunch of fragrances in this Lines Club line. Some are better than the others. In this case, it's not a bad fragrance. It's just not one that's either closest, nor is it the best twist. Next up, we have another one that is a twist, but this one actually leans into that fresher twist way more. And that's Khadlaj's Velvet Azure. This one adds, along with those common notes of apple and vanilla and cardamom, this adds a good dose of mint and also slightly doses up those fruits. They also added a note that they literally call fresh accords. I don't know how they did that, maybe additional herby aromatic, scent accords to achieve it. But you definitely can feel the freshness in this one. Also, that twist makes this from a fall, winter, kind of early spring fragrance into a versatile year-round territory. I also like using this as an office scent. Also, probably the easiest one to actually dress down. And this is exactly what I mean when I say leaning into that twist. If you're gonna go that route, make it meaningful. But one thing to note, if you're looking for the most accurate one, this is not that. This is probably the biggest departure out of all of them. Additionally, I think this one kind of lacks in the performance department. When it comes to longevity, this thing kind of tops out at 6 hours. Good projection for the first hour or so. But this is one that you probably want to overspray a little bit. I think overall it's a byproduct of the fresher approach, but it's definitely the worst performing on the list. If you prefer twist in your dupes, this is the most twisty of them all. It's also the second cheapest on the list. I think this one goes for around 30 bucks. I've also seen this one pop up in like Burlington Coat Factory for around that price, maybe even a little bit less. At the number 2 spot, we have the oldest release on this list, and that's Haramain's Detor Noir. And let me tell you something, this thing still actually holds up. In my opinion, if you're looking for the closest dupe of the OG, this one probably is still the closest. It is a touch sweeter, but it matches that mentholic edge of the OG closer than any of the other ones. Honestly, I haven't worn this in a long time, but in this testing, I was shocked at how close it actually gets. Now, when you compare it to the OG, this thing really is potent in the opening, but it's because it's a little bit harsher and more synthetic. But that all fades pretty quickly and becomes much smoother as it dries. This is also the cheapest one on the list. I'm talking about $21. I would say longevity is good, but it's not great, nor is it like totally horrible. 7 hours on skin, good projection for the first couple of hours. If you value closeness and are okay with kind of a more synthetic, harsher opening, this is still probably the best one out there. So at the end of the day, my favorite inspired by version of Layton is Orientica's XO Xclusif Oud Bleu. That's a mouthful, tongue twister. The marketing strategy on this fragrance has been kind of all over the place. If you don't know, Orientica is actually a sister company of Haramain, and for the longest time they sold this fragrance in a presentation that looks exactly like Haramain's Amber Oud line. On top of that, they also sell this scent profile in a really ornate looking bottle called like Royal Blue. And that one I've never smelt, and it's even more expensive than this one. Saying all that just to clear up any confusion that you might have about this fragrance, because it's come in really couple of different forms. This one, to me, is the denser, richer take on this scent profile. It kind of doubles down on those warm and fresh spices, tones down that vanillic nature a little bit. Does it still have that mentholic edge? Yes, it's still present, but it is scaled back a bit. And it's scaled back enough to me that it hits like this really sweet spot. It's not too dense and strong, but it's not too weak either. Another thing, this thing is an extrait de parfum. When it comes to performance, this is right there with the OG. Maybe when it comes to longevity, it lasts a little bit longer. 8 to 9 hours easy. Strong projection as well. Now, out of all the dupes, this is not the closest, but it is my favorite like take on the DNA. Still might not have like the pure quality of the OG, but it's still pretty good and really comes with a deeper, denser twist. But with all that positivity out of the way, there is one catch. This is by far and away the most expensive fragrance out of all the dupes. The best price I found online was like $60 or $61, but that's for a 60 ml. To me, that is a big negative against this thing. So keep that in mind when you're making your decision. But there is some good news when it comes to the price. If you have access to a TJ Maxx or Marshalls, I've seen this in both places. And for some reason there, if you find it there, it's still a 60 ml, but it's only 30 bucks. At that price, if you're looking for a clone of Layton, that's a no-brainer. That's actually how I ended up picking this up. Now, would I still, if I didn't have any other clones or the OG, would I still think that $60 is okay to pay for this one? I personally would say yes, because of the performance, and I like the kind of twist that they did with this one. But for anybody who can't find it for that $30, $35, I think, at like a TJ Maxx, and thinks that this thing is a little bit too expensive, I totally get it. So this is my favorite, but I will say this. If you're looking for the biggest twist, you want something that's just a little bit more versatile, but willing to sacrifice that performance, go with Velvet Azure. Still a really good option. Now, if you want something that is closest to the OG, but you're willing to sacrifice a bit of performance and quality, go with this classic, Detor Noir. Want a deeper, denser take, but that also bumps up the performance? Go with Orientica, especially if you can find it at a lower price than that $60. Me personally, if I had to choose between all of these, I'm going to choose this one 10 out of 10 times. So there you have it, folks. My thoughts on all of these fragrances that are cloning this masterpiece right here. Let me know in the comments if you agree with me or not. And if there's one that I left off the list that you think is even a better take, put it in the comments below. Also, please hit that like and subscribe button. It does really help channels like mine, smaller channels, grow. And it's just 2 clicks for you. Also, stay tuned for more honest, affordable fragrance content. Until next time, I'm out.